Today's topic is going to be called the balance of payments, and this is probably the worst, most confusing topic of the whole year. I'm just going to preface it by saying that the balance of payments, and gosh, you know what? Let me tell you why this particular topic is so bad. Because it comes at the end of everything else. This is literally like the last new material you will see this year. As I was going through the test, I did make a list of things that I thought we needed to brush up on, that I didn't think we were very strong on, maybe wasn't covered very well in class. To try to find the gaps in my teaching, just as a but this is like the last new material you see. And so any questions that there will be about it on the AP test, people are going to do awful on. Just awful, because many teachers basically skip Unit 7. When it comes to foreign currency exchange markets, teachers find it confusing too, and a lot of them just skip it. When it comes to balance of payments, teachers find it really confusing, they just skip it too. Better stick with the stuff you know, review it really well, than try to teach something you don't know. But and I feel obligated to cover it, because obviously a topic in the test. And so I need to make sure that we take some notes on it. There will probably be one question, perhaps 2 questions on balance of payments, so it may be worth our time. Also, it maybe helps us understand international trade a little bit better, so we'll go there. We're going to skip the economic graph of the day right this second. We'll come back and do graphing practice if we have time. I want to make sure Mr. Valenzuela has a little time today too. Okay, so the balance of payments. So what is the balance of payments? Let me see if I can remember. Balance of payments is an international accounting of trade. So let's write that down, what it is. It's an international accounting of trade. And like all good things that have to do with accounting, there are 2 sides to the ledger. Okay, so the balance of payments is kind of measuring where money goes. And I think that that's probably something worth writing down too. It measures the flow of money. And so when countries trade with each other, when countries buy and sell stuff from each other, it was reflected in this measurement, which we call the balance of payments. Now try to keep in mind this word balance here, because this is going to come to later. Okay, there are really 2 ways of measuring the balance of payments. We're going to go to the easy one first. The easy one is called the current account. And I want you to remember the current account, because the current account really is talking about 2 different things. It's not just talking about a temporal description, which means what's happening now, like current events, but also current account. I think it's helpful to you if you remember that current accounts talks about currency. So if you remember current account as like now currency, that may help you understand it and grip it a little bit better. So current account. So the way the current account is measured is basically this. Where does the money go? And that is what we call the current account. It helps answer this question by measuring where money flows around the country. Who's that eraser?
Right here.
Anyone see that eraser? Ah, yeah, sweet. This is a great video so far, right?
I can.
Worst video ever. Okay, so if we're talking about where money goes, there are some circumstances yesterday in which we discussed where money goes. Do you guys remember any of those circumstances yesterday we did for foreign currency exchange?
Is it those 3 things that we've talked about?
Yeah,
Stocks, bonds,
we talked about stock, speculation, transaction, precaution, any of those things. So what was one of the circumstances from yesterday that we looked at?
Stocks,
bonds,
stock bonds.
Okay, what happened with that?
real rate.
There were 3 scenarios yesterday. Remember, one of them was about PlayStation 3s. Do you remember this one?
Yeah.
Where were we buying PlayStation 3s from?
Japan.
Japan. So how this would be reflected in the current account is this. US dollars
USD.
are going to Japan. So Japan is getting the dollars. So in the current account, this would be a current account credit to Japan. And why is it a credit? Because they are getting our money. And this would be called a debit in America because we are sending our money to another country. We are selling our dollars to Japan so that we can get their money to buy their PlayStations. So when we buy stuff from Japan or we buy stuff from China, the current account reflects that money coming from our country and going over to their country. So whenever you buy stuff from another country, the currency, try to think about it this way, the currency goes to that country. I'm going to stop there for just a moment. Does this make any sense at all? You ever buy something from another country? No. Let's take a look at this water bottle that you're holding, liar.
I go to Walmart, I do. Let's
see.
Walmart.
Made in China. So Exhibit A, foods.
I didn't go to China.
No, you didn't. But here's the thing: you don't have to, because guess what did? Now, your money may not have gone to China. Literally, your money may have gone to Walmart, and then Walmart purchased it from a manufacturer in China, or was renting shelf space to a manufacturer in China. But what does it matter? The money goes to China, and you get the stuff, right? You get the water bottle, they get your money. So the current account, you got to ask yourself, where does the currency go now? You buy stuff from China, your currency goes to China, China has your money, we don't have your money. It's like your money took a trip to China. That's where it is currently. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Okay. A big part of the current account is trade. So anytime that there's trade done, anytime we import, anytime we import stuff from another country, imports, American imports, debit our current account. Because when we buy stuff from other countries, our money basically goes to that other country to buy it. Does that make sense? And that means that exports are a current account credit. Because when we sell stuff to other countries, we get their money. And so their currency comes here. Now, trade isn't just the main thing that affects the current account, but trade is a big part of the current account. Trade is probably the biggest part of the current account. But trade isn't the only way money goes to other countries. How else can you get money to another country without buying stuff from them?
Putting them in savings accounts over there?
Okay, you can open a savings account over there. Money can go that way, right? But is anyone here familiar with the term remittance? Have you ever heard this term remittance? Okay, does anyone here know or have family who sent money back to the home country? You know what I mean? Like you got family in, you do? You got family in Asia, you send them money every once in a while? You do? You got family where? Mexico?
In
You send
Asia.
them money every once in a while? By the way, do you know who gets the most amount of money? You know, most remittances from America flow to Asia. Number 1 is Asia, number 2 is Mexico. But Americans people in America will just send money back home to family in Mexico. We'll just send money back home to family in India. We'll just send money back home to family in China, in Guam, in Guatemala. So all this money leaves America, and we're not trading any of this stuff. We're just sending them money. It's so easy, Walmart will do it, right? Walmart will do it for $1.50, $3 maybe. Zoom, there's a new money thing, make it easier even than that. But probably $100 billion a year gets sent home by Americans to family living outside of America. Isn't that crazy? $100 billion a year. So all those remittances, where is our money going? So is it a debit or is it credit to us? A debit, because our money is leaving. Our money is leaving. So So anytime our money goes outside of America, think of it as a minus or a debit. We call, in the financial world, a debit is a minus, right? You guys have a debit card from your bank?
Yeah.
Every time you spend money, what do?
Take it out.
Take it out, they minus it from your bank account, right? Debit card. Okay, and then a credit, well, it doesn't work the same with credit cards, trust me. Okay, so, because you're still owing money, it's just, honestly, I don't even know where credit cards are in economics. Like, they're kind of money, but they're kind of loanable funds, but they're called credit.
Isn't it like you just buy things and at the end they bill you for it all? Something like
Yeah,
that?
I mean, that's how it works, but like, at least with a debit card, it's consistent here. A credit card would, like, you're not getting money every time you spend a credit card unless you get the Chase rewards with unlimited miles. So, no. Okay, so anytime money leaves America, it's a current account, what? Debit. And anytime money comes to America, it's a current account. Credit. Okay, so what's a current account in America? The current account is pretty crappy. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but we trade a lot of stuff. America is the #1 exporter in the world. U.S. exports, #1. We export something like $500 trillion a year. I mean, $500 billion a year. Whoa. That's pretty awesome. And since 2008, exports have basically doubled. Even as Europe is suffering through, contractionary fiscal policy, exports have gone up a lot. The downside is, one of the reasons exports have gone up a lot is because the value of the American dollar has depreciated. So the more your money depreciates, and this is what everyone in government pretends to care about, but no one really does. The more your dollar depreciates, the more exports you can export. So everyone says, every president of America says, I want a strong dollar that doesn't that doesn't get inflated. But secretly, they're all like, please inflate our currency so that we can export more. I remember when George W. Bush was president, and he's like, a strong dollar is important. Meanwhile, gas is going from like, $1.50 to $3 to $4. But here's the thing. Most of our gas we buy from other countries. So if the price of gas goes up, we buy less, that's less imports. Barack Obama's like, strong dollar is important to me. No, it isn't. But as your president, you have to pretend to care about the value of your currency. But that's all it is pretend. Because every president wants the currency to collapse so they can export more. But the problem with US imports is this. We import something like $1,500 billion a year. So basically this year, well, that's probably a little overestimate. Maybe it's like 1,100 billion a year. So basically this year we have a $600 billion trade deficit. Have you guys ever heard that term before, trade deficit? A trade deficit is whenever your net exports are negative. Remember, your net exports, right? Here's our net exports. Our net exports are exports minus imports. And whenever that's a negative figure, we call it a trade deficit. In other words, we're buying more from other countries than they're buying from us. Trade deficit. Now, the opposite of a trade deficit is a trade surplus. Outstanding. A trade surplus is when your net exports are positive. A trade surplus means you're selling more to other countries than they're buying. So we're the #1 exporter in the world. We're also the #1 importer, by far. We import something like more than every other country combined. It's insane. I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but it's a lot of money. It's significant. So we have a trade in deficit. Now, this is how much money we're getting. This is how much money we're sending out. So exports in our current account, exports are what? A credit or a debit? Debit. Well, here's the thing. Try to remember this. We're selling them stuff, and where's the money? Where's the currency currently going? Us. So is that positive or negative? Positive. And we call that a credit. So we have $500 billion in current account credits. Yes. But how many current account debits do we have? A lot more. So all of this trade deficit we count as a current account debit. Okay, we have more money leaving than coming in. And this is just trade. We're also sending out $100 billion to other countries just because we're nice. And it's worse than that. Do you know that the American people are the most charitable people on earth? And a lot of that money goes to international charities. So we're out there, we're not just sending money to our families, but something like $200 billion additional dollars is given to charity. And out of that $200 billion that we give to charity in this country, a significant portion goes to tsunami aid Japan, or earthquake aid Pakistan, or some island we forgot about. We made that movie about with that one guy, you know, who's Obi-Wan. Yeah, we sent them money. Maybe all of our money was in the form of slacktivism, where we texted $10 to the Red Cross, but hey, that's what we have here. We have money in this country. So this is just one part of the current account. The current account would cover trade. The current account would cover remittances. The current account would cover charitable gifts. I heard that Barack Obama just pledged $3.1 billion additional dollars in aid to Israel, because nuclear weapons aren't enough to deter their enemies, I guess. But that is also counted as the current account. All money leaving America is current account. All money coming to America is current account. Are there any questions about current account? Many countries build their whole economy on selling stuff to America. The whole basis of the Bretton Woods Conference was this: that Europe would always have cheaper currency than us, so they could always export to us.
Have they ever asked a question about that on the AP test?
What, Bretton Woods? No. It's too bad too, because you know how I feel about it. I mean, here's the great part about the balance of payments. When we talk about the balance of payments, the current account is only half of the equation. So the current account is going to be on this left side here. And let's say the current account for America is $600 billion in trade deficit. Let's say this is the situation in America today.
The currency stuff wasn't part of this?
What, pardon me?
The currency stuff wasn't even a part of this?
Yeah, this is the current account right here.
If he's talking about the
We
floating.
fixed and floating.
Yeah.
That was yesterday.
Oh yeah, go forward, okay?
Oh,
Okay.
what?
So here's the current account. But the current account is balanced out by something we call the capital account. Now, the capital account doesn't measure where the money goes. It measures where the resources go. So the good news is this, and let me try to make an analogy for you. All this money is leaving America, right? Think about this money. All this money has left America, right? Well, guess what? What are they going to do with it? What can you do with American dollars?
Everything.
All you can do is buy American stuff, or
Buy other currencies.
buy other currencies, or buy American resources or assets. So here's the great news about our trade deficit. All that money in China has to come back here. Somehow it has to come back here. China can buy our stuff, or China can buy our assets. That's all China can do with that money. Isn't that great news? That money is going to come back. Because the balance of payments always balances. All the money we send out is going to be all the money that comes back. We have a $600 billion trade deficit with China. Then China's stuck with all this money. What can they do with it? We don't want to buy American stuff. What can we buy in America? Bonds. They can buy stocks, they can buy bonds, they can open savings accounts, they can buy our companies, they can buy our homes, they can buy our land, they can buy our labor, they can buy our capital. It's called the capital account for a reason. What's happening now is our money's going to China, but what's happening later is it's going to come back to China. Do you see anything you like? You know what Chinese people are doing? They're doing real estate tourism. You guys ever heard of real estate tourism? Here's what Chinese people do. You take a vacation to Southern California. It's a 12-day vacation. You go to Disneyland, you go to LA, then you go to Corona and buy a house. Then you go back to China and gather up the family and come here. Capital account. All that money that China's got is sloshing around over there and they don't know what to do with it. So they got to come buy our houses. They kind of got to come buy our businesses. They got to buy our stupid government bonds that we're smart enough to avoid. Right? 1.7% yield. By the way, Apple yesterday just upped their dividend. They're now paying a 3.4% yield. Why would you buy the U.S. government debt for 1.7% when you can buy Apple and get 3.4%? I wouldn't. You know what Apple has that the U.S. government doesn't have? Zero debt. And guess what? Unlike the U.S. government, Apple sales are growing 30% a year. The U.S. government's only growing like 1.8% per year. I don't know, GDP reports are coming out today. So if it's over 2%, I'm going to be shocked. But what can China do? China can buy Apple stock. China could take their $600 billion and buy the Apple computer company. That'd be great. That'd be great. I would sell the shares I bought for $400 each. I would sell them for $600 each. I'll be okay with that. Go ahead, China, buy Apple. I don't care. I want my money. 50% return is profit for me. Now, you might be freaking out that China's going to come here and pick up the best American companies. Right? China is not going to invent a nuclear missile, but China's going to buy the Boeing Corporation, so they'll own nuclear missile technology. That's a valid fear. You know, China's not buying our oil, but maybe they'll come buy our oil company. That's a valid fear too. But here's the thing. You don't have to sell anything unless the price is right. China's not allowed to just go into Corona and say, we'll take this home. Chinese people say, we like this home, how much you want for it? And the Americans say, I want $430,000 for it. And China goes, okay, here you go. Did the American get screwed because they sold their house at the price they wanted? Who cares who buys it? What does it matter? You got the price you wanted, sell it to China. But if China wants to come buy Rhode Island, I say we sell it to them. China says, listen, we want to create our own miniature China in America. It's going to follow all the American rules. Of course, we're going to teach AP Mandarin to all the students to go. But we want to just buy all of Rhode Island. We'll give you $6 trillion for it. And everyone in Rhode Island says, okay, done and done. Welcome to America, China. Welcome to America.